The panelists include Mr. Jean-Louis Ripoche, Complex General Manager, Sheraton Maldives, Mr. Shabir Ahmed, Chairman, Coco Collection, and Dr. Abdullah Mausoom, General Manager, Sun Island Resort and Spa, Maldives. Here I'd like to inform you that Mr. Mohammad Hilmi, General Manager, Sun Aqua Vilu Reef and Oluveli Beach and Spa Resorts, who was supposed to be one of the panelists in this discussion, could not join due to an emergency.
So I'll take my cue from David Feinberg and I'll let my panelists introduce themselves.
Okay. Is that working? Yeah?
No, not this.
It's on. Maybe the volume is not on. Hello. Yeah, I'm Jean-Louis Ripoche, the Complex General Manager at the Sheraton here in Maldives. I've been here for 3 years. And if I've been selected, I believe it's because I hereby represent the largest hospitality group in the world today. As you may know, Sheraton was a Starwood group, and now it is Marriott. And Marriott itself has 30 brands in 110 countries. We're talking about 1.1 million beds. We're talking about 5,700 properties around the world with 85 million memberships. So I believe that's why I was maybe selected to be here.
You also wear a very nice white jacket.
Thank you. It was wise because I got a cold and you know, the air condition is going up and down, so it was just to be safe.
Thank you. My name is Mausoom. I'm the General Manager of Sun Island Resort. It's a Villa Group resort, one of 5 properties. Earlier I was involved in lawmaking. I was a member of parliament and also previously Minister of Tourism and also headed the Maldives Tourism Promotion Board. I was earlier to be in the HR panel, but organizers requested that I shift to this panel, so I thought I would take that opportunity. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity. So here I am. Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Shabir Ahmed, and I am the founder of Sunland Group, where Coco Collection is a locally grown brand. And I believe I'm here because, to a certain extent, I was involved in the so-called business, brand business. Thank you.
Okay, so I think this is a highly dynamic setup because we have a representative of a global brand, we have a representative of a local brand, and then we have a representative of a local brand who knows public sector just as well as private sector. So this should be interesting. Plus, we've already heard in the course of today that certainly Jean-Louis and Shabir are not shy to share their opinions. So what I would like each of you to do is, in a perspective of past, present, and future, in a sense, to talk a little bit about how you see that dynamic between the Maldives brand and the resort brand, for example. So where do you see challenges and opportunities in that historical perspective?
Well, I think, first of all, it is important to know what brand Maldives is. It has become brand Maldives, but did anybody create it? I don't think so. It just evolved through a natural course. So I think it is important to look at how and why this happened. I think the whole point is the natural beauty of our country. Everybody has been talking about it, so perhaps no need to repeat, but it's the beaches, the white beaches, the clear blue waters, the uncrowded beaches as a result of one island, one resort, the peacefulness, the tranquility. These obviously connects to make the product a very unique one. And it also goes to connect with the customers' emotions. And that happened naturally. That's how I see it. Now, for example, when European charter market started and tourism sort of began in a slightly bigger way with charter business, I would say the brochures about Maldives would have reached very few households and very few people knew about it. But it was to come later on as people came to know what Maldives is. Why I say that is, for example, those days when you talk about Maldives, nobody knew even what that country was. So slowly, it started coming to be known by the public. And because of these unique features of the country, I would say, for example, let us look at the mindset of, let's say, anybody. During your childhood, you would be talking about or reading stories about tropical islands, treasure hunts, pirates, and those kind of things. So this obviously is very connected to the Maldives Islands. So it's that unique product that sort of became the product. And as a result, it also got emotionally connected with the customers. So I think the two key components of a unique product as well as the emotional connection to the customers made Maldives become a brand. I think that is how Maldives became a brand. Nobody planned or created a brand. I don't think so. We have had campaigns like, various campaigns we have had to try to market Maldives, but nobody thought of creating a brand. But slowly it came about, and today it has become a brand. So I think from now on it is very important to sort of analyze the whole thing and try to go forward in a way where the whole industry and the stakeholders and the policymakers all agree in which direction the brand should be going. So I think that is the first and foremost point. And the second point I think is Maldives as a brand versus international hotel brands and so on. I think first it should be the destination which should be promoted as a brand, and then the others can play an additional role. So I think with that I will leave for a while.
Well, on one point I may a little bit disagree. Maldives, I would say it is a destination. It is not a brand. Coming from the brand culture, Maldives cannot be a brand. A brand, it's something that has inspired someone, that it's represent some type of clientele. Like we have in Starwood, they were very strong in branding. 10 years ago, they developed, back 20 years ago, they developed a brand W. That's never been seen before, W Hotels. And they create a trend. Now you have clients who feel W. And we have a very successful W here, opened 10 years ago. Still today, new hotels are still copying it. Trying to, now the new hotels are doing better, of course, because of new technology. But it was for 10 years leading in Maldives. That's a brand that will drain new clients to Maldives and will bring Maldives, which have already bring Maldives to a very high level because representing top brand. Today you have Cheval Blanc, more brand coming to elevate the Maldives as a destination. I see Maldives as a big showroom. When you go to buy a car, you know what you want to buy. You want to buy a sport car, or you want to buy a pickup, or a family car. So you go to a big showroom. And big showroom, what is the brand? Would be Ferrari, would be Porsche. Then after you select your car. But first you go to the showroom and you go to the most popular showroom where you have the most brand. So more brand we bring to Maldives, better Maldives can sell around the world. That's their whole idea, because more brand will carry a strong message to the audience, to the public, that in this destination you can find everything. There will be a brand for everybody.
Yeah, thank you. I think I will start with what Mr. Afif said in his keynote speech. He said, there was Maldives and there came a star player. I think as a destination, of course, Maldives, we had that, when we read a newspaper or something, they say it's a luxury sort of a destination. So we have got that brand of a luxury destination, but Maldives, when we had as a holiday destination for people get away from it all, that was that plain Maldives we had, and got the international hotels coming here. And that really definitely helped Maldives be branded as a particular type of destination, very strong on upmarket, where the film stars, high-ranking film stars, football players, they would come. And only the branded hotels, I think, made it possible. But of course, earlier people like you had started your own brand, and Maldives was slowly, various hotels were getting various dimensions that somebody would want in a destination. Maldives, naturally, we had the natural areas that, as Thomas mentioned, the beach, sea, but all this had to be a private beach, a very nice, colorful underwater, peaceful environment. Those attributes of the brand we had. But now today, I think the question we have to ask is, earlier when we go somewhere, when we said Maldives, they would say, woo, they are very excited. But today, if we consider the two people who have spent their holiday in Maldives, and if they explain Maldives, a person who has spent their holiday in a guest house in Hurumale versus somebody who has spent their holiday in a resort, even a basic resort, how they explain Maldives, how they perceive Maldives, I think would be different, and I think that is something that we have to think of, because destination brand is definitely essential for, I believe that first people decide whether I would go to destination X, then after that they will perhaps choose which hotel to go. So blurring in the destination may be a danger if we don't have a proper mass communication of ensuring that key attributes of Maldives remains. Thank you.
So Mr. Afif also said we need to market more as part of his keynote speech, and I think the marketing aspect gets us to the point of that probably necessary shift from what used to be evolution in a sense, and now it needs to become more creation. So it can't continue to be evolution, because then you start falling behind. So you need to really take luck in your own hands in a way, and figure out how that can happen. So I'd like to talk a little bit about how it can happen, because again, I think it's easy to talk about in a theoretical way about a joint strategy between the destination brand and the resort brands and so on. But in practical implementation, that there are significant consequences of how you build a plan like that. And who takes the lead, who funds it, how does the public sector come into this as well? So can I have each of your thoughts on how we might be able to build such a partnership that leads us more to creating luck than benefiting from evolution?
Yeah. As you say, Maldives move now. It's a potpourri of plans of guests, but we need to focus more of what are those customers, what they want. And you were talking about luxury. yes, luxury is an important aspect of Maldives, and that has to remain. But with a brand, we can not only bring luxury, we have luxury as a top, upscale, and mid-scale. And I think earlier during the day we were talking about it. Maldives need to look now a little bit more on the mid-scale, but within the brand, in order to control the development. Because if you leave it leave it as it is now, like we have all those small guest house growing everywhere, that will dilute and damage the reputation of Maldives if it's not controlled. And by working with brand, because like in our 30 brands, we don't have only luxury brand. We have only, the top, that's fine. We have the Saint Regis, Ritz, W, but we have mid, upscale brand and luxury and mid-scale brand. And I would say when there is an action together with the government, this should be kept in mind. You cannot bring a luxury resort to the same market than others. So it needs to be focused by the type, the room, the hotel category, the type of hotel that you are. So if there's some action, roadshow, if there's some trip, if there's even in when we go to exhibit to the trade show, there's some trade shows for luxury, as there's some trade shows for mid-scale. So that the government should focus on partnership with if it's a luxury, with all the top luxury hotels and brand, and independent hotel who are luxury can definitely fit in that market. There's nothing wrong with being independent. They need to fit in one area. I don't think everybody around the table, we should say, oh, we're all five on the top only. No, we need to differentiate ourselves between each category. The luxury grand segment, fine. There is a niche market, but remember, it's a pyramid. So there's only so many rich, and the pyramid doesn't get bigger. It's the other way around, and we need to tackle every tier of that pyramid, and that's what we as the brand we can help. Because Marriott can help, and then but the government need to fund it a little bit. Then you will find partner to join it.
I think I also fully agree with that one. That's what even the hotels have done. They know that there are rich ones and mid-market ones. So all the big chains, they have got different levels of hotels, ranging from maybe 7-star, whatever you call, to very down to very budget hotels. So Maldives also has the potential to do it, and I think it's essential. And again, I think it was again Mr. Afif mentioned, we have the airport where they come to a beautiful airport. From there, they can go to whatever level of product they want. Very high market resorts, so very upmarket transfer vessel, or take a normal mass transport vessel and go to a mass resort. So all these things are possible, and I think Maldives has to create a balance, and it has to be planned. We have to know whether how much we are going to allocate for particular segment, so that all the related segments can be planned and implemented that way. And another aspect I think we have never forget is, especially from an emotional perspective, is the staff, the human dimension of the product. That's a very important aspect. Thank you.
I agree completely. What I said is how we evolved. From now on, it is important to take stock, make a plan, and go forward. So it cannot continue as it has happened. Now there has to be a proper plan, and with a good strategy, we have to keep marketing. And for that, definitely collaboration between brands as well as established brands as well as government sector will be very, very important. But what I'm trying to say is, it is very important that there is something cohesive planned out and it is made consistent so that we keep going towards one direction in a very clear manner. But having said that, the another important thing is we should also understand the key elements which sort of, created and which will continue to be the real essence of this. Now, for example, we have been talking about the natural environment and all those elements, but in addition to that, there are very, very important other key points which we should not forget. Now, I think around the mid-80s, there were those guidelines that came into the country for development. For example, a certain percentage of land area should be built. No building should go above canopy level of mature coconut trees. And each guest villa should have a certain linear beach frontage. So I think these were very, very key things. If not for these, probably today we would have high-rise buildings, and as a result, what would happen? We would destroy our image, because our image depends on these beautiful small islands with green in the middle, with white beaches around. So that image is what is in the minds of the people. That sort of spread over the years to the public, and that is why worldwide it has become so well known, and people, it has become a dream destination. They want to visit Maldives at least once in a lifetime because of this. So I think it is very important that we should protect that. And for protecting that, first it is important to understand this. I agree completely with Dr. Mausum, as well as the other gentleman. Now, we should not dilute our image. Our image can easily be diluted. It is to a certain extent happening. So I think it is important that we all understand this. For example, let us say the guest houses. I'm not talking about, I'm not against people having guest houses or anything like that. I think we should understand what is happening. Because if I talk like this, people will be against me, but I understand that. But still, I think it is important to say this. Because the point is now, for example, if we have, hotels like in bigger islands, like city hotels, what would happen, I think, is, let us say a customer will come because they come because of the dream island. But when they go there, they see something different. And this, over many years, will slowly dilute that image. That is what I think is important as well. So these are some of the reasons why I'm saying that it is important to protect the key elements which go out to make this unique product. Now, for example, I remember late 70s and early 80s, we used to swim in front of Foreign Ministry. There were one or two launches, just small ones. But today, just imagine. We also know, for example, during school holidays, I was working as a room boy for 2 months in Kudahura, Little Hura. We used to see Mr. Afif going by small launch to Mir Fempuchi. I think Mir Fempuchi was being developed those days. We used to think, oh, he is going to the other end of the world. It used to be like that. But today, imagine the differences. So, what I'm trying to say is, now, this region, especially the airport region, has become so congested with so much of aircraft, so much of activities, and so much of shipping and all that. It's becoming commercialized to such an extent that's no longer becoming a resort environment. So what would happen if the same thing gets spread across the whole country very quickly? So I think these are very, very important points to be sort of thought of and studied. So I think it's maybe a bit of food for thought. Thank you.
So, and picking up on that food for thought, I'd like to open this up to the audience now, because this is clearly, a subject matter that is relevant for each of you in a very similar way, I guess. So I just wonder if anybody wants to obviously want to add something.
Yes, I fully agree with what Shabir just said. The key ingredients of this product, we have to keep it in there. The DNA of it. If we lose that, then you can expect it to be diluted and gone. There can be changes, in Maldives, in tourism, growing big. But certain elements of the key ingredients that is keeping Maldives as a destination, like he said, I think is something that we, as people, of this country and the tourism ministry, should really try to keep.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I tend to think Maldives is a brand. And what makes it a brand is, it is not a brand. Usually you make your brand. We make the brand ourselves. Like W or Sheraton makes W as a brand, or the visitor made us a brand. We didn't make it a brand. But suddenly we found out that they had made it a brand because it's so unique, and all this, like there are no high-rise buildings and everything. And then we have to accept it that it is a brand. But you couldn't go to Sri Lanka and say it is a brand. You couldn't go to India and say it's a brand, because this kind of brand, the uniqueness, which doesn't exist in many parts of the world, is not everywhere, so it makes us a kind of brand. And talking about guest houses, did you know guest houses existed here in 1974, 75, 78? There were lots of guest houses around. But okay, and there was another different kind of tourism at that time, all those guest houses. But they were also in fishing villages, not and all this, but it was another era. And there was a lot of hippies and drugs and going around, so I think the government intervened because of that. But just like tourism, just like the hotels and resorts, which is regulated by the Ministry of Tourism, no building this much, no building that much, or space is. If it is regulated, I think it's okay to have guest houses. But if it is not regulated and if it is just let loose, but the resorts have to be regulated, then I think there is a problem. So this is what I think about it. Thank you.
Anybody?
Thank you very much. It's indeed a pleasure to be back here this year again. I was here last year, and it was a wonderful experience. And then I have grown with the ministry 1 year from last forum, and I think I have enriched myself with a lot of knowledge and how things work here. And earlier today, actually, I wanted to be here from the beginning, but unfortunately, it just coincided with the Diplomatic Missions Heads annual meeting in Male, where this year's theme is actually Destination Maldives, promotion of Destination Maldives. So we had a wonderful session this morning until 3 o'clock. I was there. Then I came back. In the morning it was about promotion. In the afternoon it was mainly about investments. And I just would like to share some of which was discussed there. I think very relevant to the topic we are discussing right now. Let me just first say, I think I tend to agree with Afif on the brand itself, because I tend to think like this. Dubai is a brand, and Singapore is a brand, Maldives is a brand, Bahamas is a brand, and Jamaica is a brand. But there are certain countries which I also don't think they belong to that category. Somehow it has not happened. But I tend to agree with Afif. I think going back on the discussion on Mr. Shabir's argument on trying to maintain our uniqueness. Actually, earlier today in my speech, I have said Maldives has sustained itself in this tourism product because we have actually been very, very unique. One island, one resort concept. And in the future also, that's going to be how we will promote ourselves. One island, one resort. That's the memory that people take. But while we do that, again, the emerging guest house markets, it need to create a trend, because we need to, we just can't be there saying that, only the upmarket is, because over time it has evolved. So now the best shot that the government has is, what I feel is, like Afif and the rest of the pioneers have said, regulate it and guide it. So integrated tourism promotion is what we are looking at. As I have said, I have grown myself in 1.5 years with this ministry. What I see is now we need to guide the guest house business into more integrated style. So we are starting a model project in Addo. It's 3,000 beds which is coming up. The charter market which we have lost, I think Maldives used to be there in 80s, but probably Jamaica and Bahamas has taken that market. Italian charters, probably they take about 700 to 1 million. I was able to meet some of those ministers there, and I was inquiring from them how their numbers and things. So I see that market is not there anymore because I think of the price. But again, guest houses, it was so spontaneously which has come into the market. It was not properly guided. So what we are going to do is, we have got a fantastic airport there. There's potential for beach developments, So we are trying to guide this 3,000 beds and see if we can get back that market. But while we do that, the point is we're still going to maintain the one island, one resort concept. Ms. Shabir, actually, we still continue with the same old regulation. I think the only difference is it used to be 20% of the land, but now it's 30%. But the beachfront linear length and so many other regulations we continue. We are having difficulty right now because there are some resorts which want to go into the 3-star category. And they said they don't need all this, they need to put in numbers. So the ministry is struggling now how best to handle it. Now this is coming from investments which has successfully operated in Maldives with 5-star brands, but they really want to put themselves, because they probably see the numbers growing. So they want to put themselves into this category, like, for example, 700 beds, 800 beds in one island, and then so ministry is kind of in a very difficult position right now how to do it. So we are seeking expert advice on how to handle it. We are looking at increasing tourist arrivals probably for the future, but no, right now this is the time that we properly regulate this. So we have this difficulty. One thing actually, if I may just said, not related to the topic, but this morning's discussions were actually, if we are to increase the numbers, there are certain things that we need to do. Not only just keep on spending. I mean, absorption of any budget should be properly done. So what I feel is Maldivian diplomatic missions could play a key role for our promotions. So today's conference, actually, we have put forward these embassies to have tourism promotion desks. Actually, we are working with Mati to see. Actually, we don't want to send Maldivians there. We want to hire from local experts, put them there, and then try to work. For example, in Germany, we have a mission right now. So when we talk about Berlin Fair, I think, and together with that, we can have a continuous activities planned for throughout the year in parts of Germany, in parts of, for example, in Brussels, or maybe in UK. So these are the kind of things that we plan for the future, for example, in China as well. So basically, when we do that, we need the industry to work together. So one of the key points in the conference outcome should be B2B negotiations organized by the embassies. So what we are saying is actually each embassy can have twice every year small conference in the host nations, where we will invite Mati or whoever is interested, and then we just invite only selected, let's say 20 or 30 in a city, these tour operators, and then match this, try to matchmaking for the businesses. That's basically what we are planning to do. So I think when we do that, to relate to the topic, what we are trying to do is actually promote Maldives is expensive, unique, one island, one island, one resort concept, where we don't have buildings above the coconut palms. We don't have. I mean, the privacy is.